If you want to scale a business, the key that you got to focus on is how do you make sure the responsibility of getting things done, the human part of it, just has to focus on executing some small steps.
First of all, welcome, Levi. And
Well, thank you.
I am excited to hear about Rooteam. Is that how I say it?
Yes, Rooteam,
Excellent.
correct.
And how Rooteam and Odoo have sort of grown and came to be.
Found
So
each
tell
other.
me tell me the whole story. Yeah.
Well, Rooteam, I started Rooteam about 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, there was one thing I knew that we have to, I was very passionate about process automation, streamlining businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And an A side to that, using open source software. I've seen how Linux evolves. I came from a background in ISP. We were using a lot of really core Linux tools, DNS tools, and IP addresses and routing, and just seeing how a community can get stuff done, something that an enterprise can never do. And there's a lot of benefits in open source. So that we were sold in open source. So we dabbled in a lot of different open source, WordPress and Magento and a lot of, and at some point during kind of trying to figure out what works for clients and what doesn't work, and a big part of what we really try to do is say, okay, we're gonna find a solution for you. We can build something ground up, but in most cases, we can find something that we can modify. And that's kind of what we love, right? We love having access to the code, so we can say, there's nothing that you might want to do that we cannot do for you. That's kind of a core requirement for the systems that we're going to be using. So at some point along the way, we found OpenERP. There was a lot of Tiger CRM and some other systems that we looked at the point in time, and then we said, you know what, OpenERP looks mature enough and it has a big enough community that this is something we want to use. So this was in version 8. It was a year before they turned OpenERP into Odoo.
Yeah.
We did we had our qualms about, it was a little iffy what's happening here, but we quickly caught on, and actually I embraced the fact that that Odoo is actually keeping its open source, but still able to maintain some sort of enterprise level reliability, I will say, and backing by a really solid company, which is kind of very interesting and unique in the open source world. We were using OpenERP and then Odoo to help customers automate their processes, and yeah, it's been a great ride. Odoo's grown a lot. The innovation that's happening in real time it's more innovation than I've seen in any other open source ecosystem.
You mentioned manufacturing. Are there very specific industries that your company focuses on?
Yeah.
Or do you just sort of
So we do have a subset of ability that we grew. I always recommend, especially if you have a bigger implement, to use an Odoo partner. But I always say, if you speak to that Odoo partner, and that Odoo partner is not going to be able to tell you real advice about your business that you're going to say, that's a really good idea. Don't use that partner, because what you want is to have somebody that outside of giving you advice on how to implement an ERP system, give us advice on how to run our processes, because it's hand in hand. You really need to understand Odoo can be set up in a million different ways, and you really need to kind of understand for the specific industry what would be good advice. How can you take that know-how that the business has and then really do an improvement on their processes. So our expertise, I would say, is in supply chain specifically. We built a lot of really, really cool features on top of what Odoo has, kind of to augment and extend the Odoo default capabilities related to retail chains. You have multiple stores, you do want to do stores or transfers. You might have supply houses that have, you have a showroom with some items in there, and then you have a yard where you're going to maybe deliver to customer or have them pick at the site. There's a lot of that might not fit neatly into the Odoo default, and we build a lot of real improvements on top of that. You're going to have your consumer brands are going to use Odoo, and Odoo kind of covers it covers everything that they need, but you can actually build on top of that. You can run a complete WMS system in Odoo, which is, I think, atypical for a lot of other ERP systems. But we built a lot of unique picking strategies, or dynamic routing I mentioned before, a lot of sophisticated put away processes or moves in warehouses. We built container management apps that that are going to update in real time the container tracking. So there's a lot that we built on top of for specific industries on top of it. So yeah, I would say distribution, consumer brands, retail chains. That's kind of our expertise.
Okay. Out of all those and all the implementations you've done, what's was the most interesting or exciting or the most creative way of
Yeah.
having Odoo fit their needs?
Well, we pride ourselves in being creative. When I say creative, it's creating that beautiful user experience, which is kind of important. And when we say user experience, it's the consumer that is going to be buying from the Odoo user, and then also the internal Odoo users, right? You have your employees using Odoo, and you want to give them a really beautiful experience. Because if you have to fight with them by trying to make user adoption should be natural. It shouldn't be, if you have to fight with the user adoption, you kind of end up having a system that nobody uses. So
Yeah.
we kind of pride ourselves in being able to create wonderful user experience for end user and also for the internal users. So we built a lot, there's a lot that we built that we're really proud of. We really recently did a self-service rental management on top of Odoo. So we actually built a React integration. So it's a React front end that integrates to Odoo's rental management.
Okay.
So what happens is, user walks into a shop and they can self-service on the availability of different products. And then when it comes times to checkout or pickup, they can interact with an employee, which really helps with the user experience. We built POS, a modification to Odoo's POS. Those are things that we're proud of just because of the creativity around it. The user experience is really great. We did a lot of and we did some installs with consumer brands that really had a tough time with using multiple different systems, and we were able to literally cut their HR in half.
That's excellent.
Yeah. If you want to scale a business, the key that you got to focus on is how do you make sure that the responsibility of getting things done is within the software. The human part of it just has to focus on kind of executing some small steps. And we did a couple of those recently, and multiple warehouses, multiple different locations. And these companies have really big challenges because consumer brands today, as more of the middleman is getting eliminated in the market, there's market pressure to eliminate the middleman. They have to do their own import and their own distribution, and they have to be busy figuring out, okay, how do we do? We're going to sell to some customers. We're selling in large volumes, so we're doing LTL and we're doing palletizing items, and then we also have to drop ship because that's becoming a market necessity. And then all of a sudden you have to have in the same warehouse where you're literally sending one a truckload and then also one box, and both have to go out in the same day, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes challenging, and especially if you want to do same day or next day, all of a sudden you got to distribute them, across different zones in the U.S., and you got to be able to route your sale orders to correct a warehouse. So it gets challenging, but that's it's tools like that we really appreciate because you can interview the customer a year after they implement and say, how does it feel to use Odoo? And they're ranting and raving about, okay, wow. We had employees that had to leave 7, 8 o'clock at night because we had to get stuff done, and there was no way to do it with the old software. It just you had to hustle. There was time that you had to spend. And today, those people, 4 or 5 o'clock, everybody can go home, and so.
How has our Odoo Partner Program helped your business grow?
I think a key part of allowing us access into the kind of the Odoo world, giving feedback back to Odoo has been tremendous for us because before that we kind of existed in an ecosystem kind of in parallel to Odoo, maybe on the side of it. So just having that ability to give feedback has been important. These shows I think are tremendous for just exposure for Odoo itself, and different partners meeting up. I have in the last 2 years, the amount of collaboration that we did with other partners has grown extensively. Before that, we kind of all existed in different silos, right? We haven't been able to meet each other, show off the different things that we do, because different partners do have a lot of different expertise. So we have used some other partners' software in the past and kind of know what they did because there was something on the App Store, but just having partners here together and being able to share advice, resources, expertise has been amazing. That's another thing that Odoo, being an Odoo partner, has helped. I would say also it adds a certain level of legitimacy, right? Because sometimes customers say, okay, we see that you have certain things, how do we know that we can, trust that you're going to, be here long term? So being that Odoo partner, first of all, shows them, okay, it's not only us, it's also Odoo. There's a relationship here. Let's go ahead
It
with
helps
this.
them make up their mind.
Yep.
Yeah. That they have somebody that in for the long haul.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the Odoo learning curve. What was that
Yeah.
like for you, and also for your staff, and also for your customers that you're implementing?
So as far as the learning curve for Odoo is concerned, so the good news is that you can start Odoo and it comes pre-configured out of the box, which I think is very unique for ERP systems. And now it wouldn't work for large enterprises, but for a small business, it's something that they can do and it will work. So it is a way also for training employees and learning about Odoo. It comes pre-configured, so you can kind of see how different things work together. You can kind of click your way through it and figure it out, which to me is a key factor to making sure that there's going to be a good user adoption. It needs to be intuitive. So Odoo has that intuition where you kind of see how different things work together. You kind of I'll put in the sale order, let me see what happens in inventory, and something popped up. So that's a good first step. Outside of that, there's the configuration in Odoo, and then there's the development in Odoo, right? Both of those, you can fool yourself into thinking that it's easy, because sometimes things look easy, but there's always a level deeper and more that you can do. And if you figure out how routing really, really works and moves really, really works, ERP systems are complex. So I would say there is a little bit of a learning curve once you want to get into that advanced stage of understanding how to configure Odoo, right? Using Odoo is a kind of a different animal, because what the goal is that you have somebody implementing it for you, and then the users don't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah, set it and forget it.
Yeah, set and forget. So there is the learning curve there. We started pretty early, so I must have been an amateur in Odoo version 9. I probably didn't know it, right? Because you have that full sense of, oh wow, I know how to do everything, right? But then you learn more, and then you have more complex needs, and you kind of see, oh wow, there's pull and push requests. There's different things that you can do in Odoo. So it has both sides to it. You can use Studio to do customizations, which is easy. I would say technically easy to learn for somebody that is technically capable. It's pretty easy to learn. A lot of other advanced things that could have been advanced, like you can set up a beautiful website in a couple of minutes, and it's pretty easy to learn how to do that.
That's going to be even better in 18.
Right?
Yep.
And it's it keeps on evolving, right? It has this easy adoption and easy kind of learning curve, but then there's something more advanced which takes time, and you just have to learn by trial, right? You test it out, you see what happens.
You got to break it to figure it out.
Yes, exactly.
You got to break it and then
that's
fix
when you
it,
learn,
and then you're
right?
the master.
Yeah, exactly. It's broken and you can't figure it out, and then you really hustle through it. And okay, now I know how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I already asked this, but I just want to in case I didn't miss this. Why did you choose to partner with Odoo? Like, what were like the standout?
It's a no-brainer. I'll be honest, it's a no-brainer because.
Ooh, good answer.
Yeah.
Best answer, actually.
I can tell you why. Because if you're gonna sell, there's a commission there, right? There's a commission that you get on the licensing. At some point, it just pays for itself. So, and we're at that. So it just pays for itself. There's no reason not to do it, right?
Product
There's
is
no
good,
reason
it sells
not to do it. It's
itself,
just
it's
literally a
good for you.
no-brainer. Besides all the added value and benefits that I mentioned before, it's just a no-brainer. At some point, I also feel, okay, I want to give back to Odoo because, Odoo has done so much for the ecosystem. And it's also kind of why I feel like sometimes customers ask me, is it Odoo enterprise or community? What should I choose? And sometimes the answer is easy, right? If they want to use certain apps, or if it's a solid business and they use accounting, then this is a no-brainer. They want an enterprise. But sometimes there's a reason to say, oh, you can probably use community. You'll be fine. But I always encourage customers, you want to use the enterprise because you want to kind of give back to that ecosystem. By giving back, it'll give back to you leaps and bounds more than that. And besides the fact that you can upgrade to the new versions, and so being part of the ecosystem, even for us, is kind of it feels like almost like the least that we can do.
That's very nice to hear. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, Levi, and thank you for talking all about Odoo. And I wish you a lot of success and that you enjoy the rest of your Odoo community days.
Yeah, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Odoo is awesome, and I look forward to being more involved.